Welcome one, welcome all to another edition of the Zach, Tony, and Grimbo Show, but we're missing one. There's no Grimbo here. Grimbo tried so hard to be on this show. Listen, let's fill you in. So Tony knows this because he was at it. Michael had a wedding as of last week, as this recording that is, and got to go on the honeymoon. And so we originally were like, okay, he's going on the honeymoon. We'll be all right. No big deal. But he was dying so hard to be on this show. Kept talking to us outside of it. Tony, he's on the same side. He's like, dude, just go enjoy your honeymoon. And no, still up until 0 hour was like, I'm going to be on this show tonight. It's going to happen. And his internet connection was spotty. So what can you do? Honestly, go enjoy your honeymoon, Michael. You'll see this later on. He's in Cancun right now. Newly married couple. Congratulations. So, gotta love it. But he's on the sandy shores. We're sitting here, one in Indianapolis, the other in Cleveland, Ohio, talking some NFL draft coverage, or at least recap wise. Yeah, what are you on the? You think you're on the riverfront there?
Yeah, this is actually the right above my shoulder right here is the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, and somewhere around right around here is where First Energy's at. I didn't want to put First Energy because I didn't want to have a picture or video of me in front of First Energy for however long we record this for. So I figured next best thing, Rock and Roll Hall of Fame.
Look, I don't like YouTube for the video version of this. I'm good with avoiding any of that. So yeah, we can just move on. Thanks for helping me out, buddy. That's a great thing. I don't have to worry about it when I'm editing this later. For those podcast listeners, like, what the hell is he talking about? Well, you can subscribe to the YouTube version and check out what we're talking about in person, ugly mugs and all. Just saying. But enjoy the listening in as you will. We got plenty of stuff here in this show. It is a draft recap episode, ladies and gentlemen. For those that listened into our previous Zach, Tony, and Grimbo show, we had given quite the draft coverage. It was 3 hours. We had a 3-hour mock draft of the 2021 NFL draft. And this was before some of the trades happened. So the thing got thrown out the window in like a week anyway. And we just winged it going into talk about it as we went through the night. And we're here to give our, winners, losers, our takes on our own teams, a lot of stuff going on with at least us three in particular. So, let's get into this thing. First off, Tony, good to see you. I don't mean to push you aside as we begin this, but it's good to have you on, you and I, one-on-one.
Hey, it's good to be back. What's it been, like 2-3 weeks since our last recording? So
yeah, it's been about that.
Man.
Yeah, it's a little space between. Plenty for us to stir about with what our choices were going to be. Some stuff I thought was going to be certain. If you know what I'm saying.
Yeah, a lot of things changed real quick in this draft, and if the fans could see our sidebar messaging, they'd be pretty shocked about how crazy we get when it comes to this. I was not okay with a lot of things. There's something I want to put on my own T-shirt just for this 2021 draft, but I can't. It's not appropriate to say. The PG version is screw Denver, and I'm going to die on that hill, and I hope they lose every game this season.
Oh man, well, you know what? I thought that they had a average draft at best. Besides maybe their first choice, and even then. Let's just get into this because the Cowboys, our original mock draft, I think all of us kind of said Patrick Surtain, Dallas, a marriage right there made in heaven. And I thought that Denver could have gone for a QB here. A specific Justin Fields was available at this choice. And they decided, let's piss off Tony Stengelson today and take what is rightfully ours and just beef up a defense that's already pretty damn good.
Yeah.
So, that's how that started.
That and Farley went 8. J.C. Horn. My bad. J.C. Horn went 8 to the Carolina Panthers. So there went our top 2 prospects, like in succession, right before our picks. They really could have done anything else. They could have done wide receiver to bolster that wide receiver core. I mean, you've got Jerry Jeudy, who's okay. You've got man, that's about it in my head.
Cortland Sutton is the only other. Is the
Cortland
main
Sutton,
one,
yeah, and then I think Tim Patrick is like their third wide receiver. Could probably bolster that wide receiver core, or just not do things that annoy me. But hey, they make the big bucks. I'm just here to be annoyed, I guess.
I guess so. But hey, you got arguably the best linebacker in the class, though.
Yeah, and that going into that pick, I was a little upset because the Surtain thing went the pick before. I was like, well, who we're gonna draft now? Looking at it, I had no idea who our third option was because 1 and 2 were gone, and then I saw we traded with the Eagles, and boy, was that a great idea. We still were gonna go after Michael Parsons reportedly, but we managed to trade back 2 spots and get a 3rd round draft pick out of it. So, I mean, that's not bad at all. I mean, Michael Parsons, I've watched him because, Ohio State, Penn State.
Sure.
Michael Parsons is a dog, dude. He's an absolute great player there. It's a need that we didn't fully think we needed until, Sean Lee retired. Leighton Vander Esch is kind of injury prone right now. And then Jalen Smith wasn't showing the flashes that he was showing the year before. So, I mean, I love this pick. I think at the time I was still just kind of stunned that we didn't get the corner of our dreams in Patrick Surtain.
Well, yeah, and hey, you guys invested basically solely in defense for most of this draft. Anywho,
God.
And I mean, I was waiting for Jerry Jones to make some receiver choice and just somehow find a way to go to like overpick for a tight end, even though none of them were first overall talents except for Kyle Pitts, which, by the way, good for Michael. He gets a grade A weapon right there. He would obviously be, gushing, I would imagine, at this point with that choice. But
absolutely
got the defense at least upgraded for you. That was great about this draft for you guys. Parsons. Then you got Kelvin Joseph there out of Kentucky, which is one of the for 2nd round choices. Pretty damn good option from what I've seen. And then just
I actually had never heard of Kelvin Joseph because since I don't follow SEC football, I didn't know how well he did at Kentucky, especially because you think of the SEC, you think of mainly Bama. You don't really think of a lot of the other teams that would have taken that step forward. I mean, Kentucky, if you look back on it, did have a pretty good record, but I didn't know who he was, and we ended up taking another kid out of Kentucky in the 6th round, Quinton Bohanna.
Yep.
And I'm shocked. Honestly, God, I'm shocked. With the exception of 3 offensive players, we went all defense. And this can't be a real life situation because every other draft I've watched us take either offensive lineman in the 1st round, which was okay, which was great with Zach Martin, or we gone wide receiver like last year, which that was insane. I still vividly remember being back at my parents' house in Indiana, watching it with you guys on Skype and going, who the hell is that? And why did we just take wide receiver? So, and like CeeDee Lamb wasn't like a no-name guy. It was just like, why did we go wide receiver when we could have gone like Xavier McKinney or somebody else that plays defense? And, looking back at the 2020 season, we should have still gone defense. I mean, CeeDee Lamb's a great acquisition. Don't get me wrong.
Absolutely.
I'm not sad to see him in a Cowboys uniform at all. It's just that at the time we needed defense, we needed secondary help, and thank God we finally decided to do it this draft, because had we not, I'm pretty sure we would have been the first team to go like 0-17.
The amount of times I heard Isaiah McKinney last year from you just going, man, imagine what this would have been if we had just picked up Isaiah McKinney instead of reinforcing that offense, and it only got worse as Dak Prescott got knocked out for the season anyway, too.
And the icing on the cake was the last pass of the Cowboys season was an interception to Xavier McKinney.
And I was saying it wrong. I knew it was.
I was like, are you kidding me, man? Like, that was the guy we should have drafted. But it is what it is. It's fine. That's last year. This is this year. Move on.
No, see, the football gods, someone from the skies of the sports gods above came down to Jerry Jones and said, right the wrongs, change the course of this franchise.
Yeah, they open palm smacked him across the face and was like, you better take defense. Do you want to win a Super Bowl right now?
That's a little more rough way of doing it, but I imagine that's probably what more realistically happened in in historical writings or writings of yore. It'll actually be more like sympathetic, where it's like, Jerry, I am an angel from above. I have come to tell you, my child, that you can fix this. Just go after Patrick Surtain, or Micah Parsons. He might still be there too. Just be
Go
ready
for the
for
defense. Just draft defense.
Just grab only defense. Why don't you?
Oh my gosh.
I look, Dallas. I think got what they needed. I mean, what did you give the Cowboys if you had to give them a grade?
They did address some offensive line needs too as well. Not sure why we got another wide receiver in the 5th round, but I'd give them I'll go B plus.
Okay.
Just because I don't want to put too much stock in this draft class. It's really tough to see how these players pan out, as opposed to, once they start playing. So it's hard for me to give any team really an A. So my highest grade is going to probably be a B plus, and that's kind of, and that's probably me being a homer at this point, because we addressed our defensive needs. We went out and got it. Like, I'm not mad about it.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. I'd say that pretty solid. B is probably the lowest I'd go there, because I mean, really, for the Cowboys, that's all they really needed to fix. A healthy Dak Prescott with everything else, even with Ezekiel Elliott's, is he still in his prime? Is he not? That all being said, I mean, it's a stacked offense. They just needed to get the opposite side of the ball, so they aren't playing playing it as a race rather than, yeah, they don't want to be racing teams is what I'm trying to say. Yeah. You want to have something to at least back you up. Before I get to my own team, I want to give Michael a spotlight here. Let's look at the Falcons a little bit. So
let me scroll up on my page.
Yeah, it's okay.
There it is.
We all got to get all this. I mean, hey, when you got 32 teams and well over 250 draft picks, you got to be able to get yourself ready for whatever team we're talking about here. So the Falcons, man. I mean, Kyle Pitts instantly stands out. I think most of us, I remember, had him in mock drafts in our show as being the guy best available at the time. And now with the talks of Julio Jones possibly being a post June 1st trade, makes a lot of sense. Guy that's pretty much a receiver that is, I would say, acting as a tight end right now.
Yeah, absolutely. He's a big-bodied wide receiver. I hate that he's classified as tight end, because they looking back at it, they did say that he's got some blocking issues. And so I think that's a bigger thing to me as a lineman. I want to have my tight end who can do it all. Mm-hmm. Kind of like that Rob Gronkowski type. So Kyle Pitts, he'll stretch that field though. It'll be great for Matt Ryan, and you can tell as soon as they took Kyle Pitts, they were all in for Matty Ice. They didn't draft a quarterback their entire picks. They signed a free agent or undrafted free agent. But I think they realized that their window is closing with Matt Ryan, and so if they do trade Julio Jones, which I still think that'd be insane to do. If they don't, oh man, that offense is going to be deadly. You're going to have Julio Jones, Calvin Ridley, and then Kyle Pitts in the slot, and then you're looking pretty well with that offense. And they did address some of their defensive needs as well. They got some safety and secondary help. Finally got some more blocking for Matt Ryan. So I mean, honestly, looking at it, I got to give them I got to give them a B in my eyes, because they did exactly what they needed to do. And then they, just in case they do trade Julio Jones, they went and picked up Frank Darby in the 6th round. So.
Right. Look, I would say that it was a pretty solid draft, and this is for them. It kind of ties into what they want to do. Obviously Matt Ryan and Julio Jones are two big names for them as to what they are going to be dedicating their resources towards, and more for Julio Jones' sake. This is where cap casualty issues or potential cap crunch becomes a problem, because yes, he's a top receiver in this league. Lost a bit from injury. I mean, last year he was injury riddled, so it didn't help his case whatsoever. Yeah. But he is getting that back end, past 30. Not as harsh on receivers, but still, it's something you have to consider when you're moving forward with a top tier weapon that's getting paid quite a bit of change right now. And then meanwhile, Matt Ryan, also kind of in not twilight years, but still can sling the rock. And now you're in that window of let's get those last few, veteran quality seasons, possible MVP, because the guy still can throw 4,000, 4,500 yards a season right now. So you don't have too much to worry about. But the Falcons definitely addressed issues. Defensively, they needed to get assets in there to start revamping what has been just I wouldn't say paper thin, but at least I would say, it's kind of like cardboard paper. It's going to resist a little bit, but it definitely doesn't do too much once you get something that's a little more legitimate firepower against it. And especially in an NFC South that, Tampa Bay is going to be there, and I imagine as much as the Saints are down and out right now, and that Michael doesn't like the Taysom Hill, the running back, is there probably playing quarterback this year, unless Ian Book steps up. By the way, really like that QB battle that's going to happen this offseason. They'll find
or Jameis Winston.
I mean, yes, I know.
He had a resurgence. He had a couple good flashes when he was in New Orleans. I think the biggest thing was that in Tampa Bay, they weren't utilizing his best stats. They didn't really protect him. So, I mean, when I'm on the run too, I probably would throw 30 and 30. But
my thing with Jameis, I didn't mention him because Sean Payton just seems to be favoring Taysom Hill so much right now.
That's fair.
And I think Jameis will get his fair shot. But now that Ian Book came in, it's a 4th rounder, it's more for competition. But hey, if Book shines a little bit, you got to wonder who really gets that, chance. Hill's contract, as we all know, is phony baloney, not realistic money whatsoever. It doesn't exist, but it does.
Paying him a monopoly money. Like, here you go.
I have an imaginary checkbook with an imaginary pen. I'm going to sign this.
Here. Do you see the check? It's right here. Take it.
I'm walking to accounts receivable right now to give them the contract. Okay. I swear.
I don't know how they found that loophole, and I'm not mad that they're exploiting it. It's just the laughable thing about it. Like, you can void like his entire contract.
Mm-hmm.
That's insane. Okay, all right.
Yeah, he kills me, man. I'll tell you one of the picks I really like the Falcons got. You're talking lineman Jalen Mayfield. Definitely someone. I mean, the fact that you get him in 3rd round, possibly starter caliber material right there. Michigan, they bring him up right. It's Big Ten country. Obviously, if you're not going to be, in my opinion, when it comes to linemen, if you're not going Iowa, if you're not going Ohio State in the Big Ten, Michigan is generally your number 3.
Yeah.
And for someone that's had plenty of quality starts, is a high upside prospect, injury issues a bit last season, but kind of like it. It's a good mid-rounder. Sometimes that's the best thing. There's the obvious 1st round picks, but you want to look for the somewhat mid-rounders I think really can help make a difference. And I really like that choice.
Yeah, it's interesting that they went with Jalen Mayfield though in that spot, because they were probably looking to still bolster that defense.
Sure.
And Trayvon Moehrig was still on the board, man. It was enticing. So to pass up on him for Mayfield, it's
well, then heck, they passed him up for Richie Grant.
Grant, yeah, that's right.
I mean, credit, still is considered kind of an enforcer type of safety. I love guys that like to get their hands dirty and make sure that any receiver is looking uncomfortable. But Moehrig was widely regarded at that point. I'm still surprised he slipped as much as he did.
Yeah, it's insane, and to see him in Raider black and silver is going to be disgusting, because if Atlanta didn't take him there, the boys could have taken him, but then Vegas took him the pick before. So it's just, it's been a draft of at least those first 2 rounds of, all right, there are guys the next one on the board, and then he's gone.
Yeah.
But
well, hey, I applaud the silver and black for picking him up, because I thought their 1st round pick with Leatherwood was out of reach. I'm serious. Look, Alabama guy, I'll give credit, but like, what is it with Mike Mayock and John Gruden going for these reach picks in the 1st round?
They have no idea what they're doing, and I'm gonna say it, and Raiders fans out there will say that I don't know what I'm talking about, and you know what? You may be right. Who knows? I like to run my mouth a few times. If I'm eating my words, great. You know what? That's what I want to do. I want to make these comments, eat my words, and then have them prove me wrong. But man, I don't know how. I think the Raiders are slightly regretting that 10-year contract to John Gruden, because there's been a lot of things that have happened to where I mean, and even Mike Mayock, like you're making dumb decisions in the draft sometimes, and you got to be smarter about this because you said you wanted to bring a championship back to the Raiders, but you're not doing a whole bunch about it. So,
yeah.
Oh.
I mean, like I said, Morig was really the one I thought that was arguably their best choice, just for the fact that he slipped to them. But like, there were better choices. Like Tevin Jenkins, who the Chicago Bears picked up, like he was still sitting there when they were drafted at 17. You know, and has more of, I would say, more of a healthy tenure as well as pedigree with Oklahoma State, to where you could have argued that would have been the reasonable choice right there.
Yeah, or even, Christian Darrisaw they could have gone with. Like, you really could have gone with a couple other guys, but instead it's interesting that they reach on Leatherwood, and I think it'll be an interesting season to see how that works out for him, because I would expect him to get into the starting spot almost immediately.
Right. I don't know how much I haven't heard enough of Gruden's hot seat or anything, or Mayock's, but like you have to wonder, because some of these drafts haven't been paying off for him in the way they thought. So you can't stay 8-8, 7-9. We can't even stay 7-9 or 8-8 anymore, for being honest, with the 17 game schedule this year, but you can't stay middle ground forever on a 10-year deal.
No.
Yeah. Got to start winning some games, although it's kind of tough when you're in that division, honestly, with the AFC West. But seriously, I mean, you split games with the Chiefs. Maybe you need to start getting into that wild card discussion a little more. Time's now.
Time's now. Windows closing.
Time. Yeah, windows closing super fast. You know? I'm telling you. Well, maybe not super fast, but it just seems like they don't know what they want to do with, like, is it like just quality? Is it just about is it just like John Gruden and Mayock overlooking certain things? We're smarter than everyone else. That's what it is.
We know something they don't know.
We always know. We always know. It's right here. This big old noggin of mine. I tell you what, man, I got the best picks, man. They're all right here in my head, man. I scouted out Trey Lance, not to even think about getting them, man. It was going to be possible. I still use my time for that, man.
Yeah, some of those picks in the first round took the whole 8 minutes, and I was like, some of these we knew it was coming, but
I bet you
I have to sit here to the whole 8 minutes of this. Like, I have to listen to them talk about, like for example, the second pick to the Jets, which, don't get me started on that whole situation. You're going to try to tell me that it's going to take you 8 whole minutes, and I'm going to have to hear 8 more minutes about Trevor Lawrence more than I want to?
I
come on.
I blame the broadcast productions, is what I think it is. Think of it as like the guys with the orange gloves on the sidelines for the media timeouts. There is someone there's someone that probably is coordinating with the NFL Network and ESPN that's like, all right, you got that pick in, but like let's just chill out. We can kind of pad this, get the run time.
Yeah, it was an extra like 2 minutes of like the pick is in. It's like, okay, so announce it. Like, let's get this moving. I want to be in bed before midnight. Like, let's go.
And yeah, that barely happened. I think it ended like 11-ish, 11:30.
Oh, it was like 11:58, 11:59. Yeah,
second, third round,
32 picks. Yeah.
Jesus Christ, second, third round was after midnight. I know that one took it just seemed like that dragged.
Yeah, I wasn't able to watch that one. I was a little busy, so I was like, yeah, I was kind of like looking at it as we were at the bar back in Valpo. So I was like, oh, we'll see who goes where. And then that's when I saw Jock get drafted by the Browns, who I thought they were going to pick in their first rounder. I didn't think that they would go. I didn't think they would go cornerback, to be completely honest with you.
Yeah.
I mean, I knew that they needed one. It's just that, like, they wanted to add that depth to it, because, I mean, if you look at it, Greedy Williams is a little been injury prone. Denzel Ward instead of concussions. Yep. So to have that depth, it's going to be great to have. It's just that, I don't know, Greg Newsome, I feel like if you were going to trade up to the 52nd pick, you probably could have grabbed somebody else too. That might have been there in the second round. But hey, Kevin Stefanski knows what he's doing in Cleveland. And I said before when they first hired him, I said that's the best decision they could have ever made. And I got destroyed on social media because I was singing the praises of Kevin Stefanski, an offensive coordinator from Minnesota, who walked into a situation even better than he could have imagined, and was able to take advantage of it. I think people in Cleveland were just so disillusioned with their coaches in the past years that they're like, oh no, Kevin Stefanski's not going to do good. We should have gotten so and so, and then you see what he does, and it's like, here it is.
Put all their eggs in the Freddie Kitchens basket, and now everyone's just upset, and that's probably what happened there.
Yeah.
No one's going to be able to coach this team. It was all set up. We had it all perfect for Freddie. Freddie couldn't take care of it, so Kevin can't do it.
Yep, and then Kevin showed that he goes, oh, I have 2 good running backs. Let me hand the ball off. Let me swing passes out to him. He knew what he had, and he knew that he had, Jarvis Landry's a good number 1 wide receiver. Odell Beckham, I guess he was hurt last year.
Yes.
Even when he was on the field, which if that's the case, dude, sit out, because if Baker's just going to force throws to you, you're not hoping the team win. You're kind of detrimental to it. And everybody knows that I don't think that Odell Beckham is even back up to top 10 wide receiver status yet. I don't think he'll be back up there. I think he's top 15 at best. And that's a hot take that Cleveland fans will disagree with me with. But without Odell Beckham, Baker was able to more naturally go through his reads and make better passes. So to me, if I'm a Cleveland fan, I want to get rid of Beckham.
I wonder what happens, post this year or maybe even mid this year, so it looks like and credit, this is also just, players' social media and having to engage with fans, been showing he's really working out in the off season. So maybe gets a little extra juice seeing they were one good defensive stop or one better series away from hitting the AFC Championship.
One penalty, and one stupid roll away.
One penalty away too. Jesus, that looking back on that game, it's weird. That's weird to think that they were that close, but that shows how much the progress they made. And honestly, before we go in, I'll preview that's one of my favorite drafts, by the way, is the Cleveland Browns, just because they hit on all the spots.
They did so well.
They hit on all the
spots.
And
that's on the record multiple times now. That they did so well with their draft, and it's hard to really be, to look at it and not be happy for them. I mean, you've got Newsome, you've got Jock, and Jock is a monster, dude. He should have never slipped out of the first round. They went wide receiver with Anthony Schwartz out of Auburn. They got more offensive line with James Hudson out of Cincinnati. They got I always butcher his last name, Togiai out of Ohio State in the 4th round.
Yeah.
So, they hit where they needed to, and then they even decided to throw in an extra running back in round 6. Like, you know what? Go learn from the 2 that we've got. Let's see what you do.
I with Greg Newsome to comment on here. See, it's funny because the Cardinals got Zaven Collins. I thought that those picks should have swapped. Newsome, I thought, should have gone to Arizona. Collins, I thought, was better set to then go to Cleveland because Parsons would have already been gone. Collins was kind of a 2 or 3rd best option. But hey, I mean, to each their own. And plus, they got a stellar 2nd round linebacker to fill in the core. Because that was the thing. I thought the linebacker backing core would be the priority. But you know what? I mean, might as well add on to Denzel Ward and Troy Hill, get an extra option there. Newsome's that guy.
Yeah, I didn't trust the safeties even kind of with the signings and free agency. But adding that depth with Newsome, have him learn a little bit, get those reps in. Maybe there's a slot corner. Togiai should have went in day 2, went in day 3. I mean, they covered it all. Jock's a versatile player, which that's the reason why I would have loved Jock to go someplace else. I feel that he would have fit maybe just a little bit better in, but I mean, he fits the scheme. If you can move a guy around in the defense, how do you stop that? So, especially with what they got Clowney in free agency. So they had Clowney, Myles Garrett. You throw Jock around in there somewhere, and man, it's gonna be a great season to be a Cleveland Browns fan. I'm still not gonna become one for those listening, especially all of the ones that are like, "Oh, you're gonna become a Cleveland fan now?" It's like, no, dude, I'm still a Cowboys fan.
Yeah.
Good luck.
Don't worry, Maggie will get you will convert you soon enough, right?
She will. She'll be like, "Oh, your Cowboys doing?" If we slip like 1 game behind the Browns, like, "How's they doing?" And I know that if she listens to this, she's gonna give me crap for sassing but that's how our relationship is. It's filled with sass. So
You can blame her. I dragged her into this. I didn't even have to name drop her. I just wanted the reaction. I gotta ask. It's just the opposite team dynamic. Someone that lives there, but doesn't want to buy in. I'm messing with it.
It's just that sometimes I just don't want to. I'm not gonna just hop around to wherever I live. If I would have done that, I would have been a Bears fan.
Well, I would be a Colts fan right now.
Yeah, exactly. So, and God, I mean, the Colts are looking good. The Bears, obviously weren't the greatest.
They weren't. You talk to fans now, they flip that dynamic pretty quick. I do not buy into hype.
Let's segue right into this, because we've been dancing around it all night. Let's go.
I know. I'm going to not even jump in here. I want Tony to try and get me as built up for Justin Fields as possible. And before we even let him do that, I sound like I'm a wet blanket. I'm cautiously optimistic because I have trust issues being a Bears fan with a quarterback. I'm just being honest. I like the athleticism of Justin Fields. I just can't instantly say this is the guy that saved Chicago right away, because I've heard that spiel before. Do not tell me that spiel, because that scares me. You know what? I'm just saying that scares me. But you know what, Tony? You know Justin Fields probably the best in this group. So I trust you with everything that can get me happy about why Chicago did this trading up to 11. They did give up a first round next year, but hey, there's a future quarterback in Chicago that a lot of people are really liking right now.
Yeah, if you go on Bears social media, which I know is a dark,
it is a very dark place. I do not like Bears Twitter anymore. I have to stay away.
Yeah, Bears Twitter is wild. I was on the Facebook one digging into the comments because sometimes I just like to see what people post. Right. But buried in the Justin Fields celebration, which I'll get to, is the fact that in rounds 2 and rounds 5, the Bears drafted offensive linemen.
They did,
which is a fantastic thing for a young quarterback to do. It helps out that running game of David Montgomery. And I forgot who they just signed, so I apologize.
If you're talking Damien Williams.
Williams, yeah, the Super Bowl winning running back, yeah. You throw Damien Williams in there, you get who's basically going to work well with Justin Fields because of his style and Justin Fields' style. Justin definitely has those intangibles that you want in a quarterback. You want that gritty guy. You want the guy that's hard work. I saw it like yesterday, today. He's like, I'm tired of the talk. I'm ready to get to work. Sure. And, people can say that about Mitch Trubisky. The only concern is that Matt Nagy might screw him up. And that would be the only reason. If Matt Nagy screws up Justin Fields, then it's on Matt Nagy. Matt Nagy should have been gone at the end of last season, in my opinion. Justin Fields is going to be a guy who's agile, can throw on the run, can throw it deep and accurate on the run. It's going to keep Allen Robinson in Chicago is what it's going to do, because you knew he wasn't going to be happy with Nick Foles throwing to him. You knew he wasn't going to be happy with Mitch Trubisky. You knew he wasn't going to be happy with Andy Dalton. I'm not a Red Rifle believer. I haven't been a Red Rifle believer. I've gotten hype when he actually did well with the Cowboys last season. But Justin Fields, Denver's an idiot for not taking him, because especially in Denver, that ball flies a little bit better. It would have been better for them to draft either a wide receiver or draft a quarterback there. Fields slipping down as far as he did, well, I say slipping down, but he went, number 11. But everybody saw him as a top 2 pick. They saw him as the number 2 quarterback outside of Trevor Lawrence. And to be honest with you, he's either number 2 or he's 1B, because Trevor Lawrence got outplayed by Justin Fields in the playoff. Pure and simple. And you can look at the defense for that all you want. Clemson had a great defense that year or last year. So did Ohio State. But who came out on top? Especially after getting nailed in the ribs. A lot of quarterbacks would have folded. They would have been done. They would have like winced. They would have been like, no, coach, I'm gonna hand the ball off. Justin came out and he smacked people in the teeth. And I think that's what Chicago loves about him, is the fact that he has that physicality, he has that grit, he has that hard work attitude that they actually believe. Mitch Trubisky can say he was here to work hard and do better all he wants. I didn't see it. There are some plays where he looked lazy. He's not as mobile as Justin Fields, and even if he was, he didn't do much with it. And maybe that's looking at coaching. Maybe that's, a little bit of Trubisky. I think Fields is a better fit for Chicago. I think it's going to be great. And I think it'll help have them get wide receivers that want to stay and want to play for them.
I think that's the first time I've heard someone say Mitch Trubisky looked lazy, but you know what? I'm not even going to go into that. I never thought he was. I'm just going to be honest with you. I never saw him as lazy, because here's the thing. I saw Trubisky as a hard worker, but I also do say one thing with Fields. The tenacity of the kid is amazing. Or well, not even the kid, that young man is amazing, I would say. Definitely takes the hits, definitely looks like a team player out on the field. The draft stock thing kills me looking back at it a few weeks ago with like, well, he's not an outspoken leader. He's a soft-spoken leader. He doesn't vocalize. Well, he wasn't on campus much. He did online courses, and, he wasn't really interacting with people, like those type of things, like this whole social teamwork type of base stuff that was seeming to knock down his draft stock, that I was a little surprised at.
Yeah, I mean,
overshadowed potentials. Yeah,
the online class thing is one thing, because everybody was doing online classes last season. I mean, where we were in a pandemic, like not a lot of places were doing in person. As for his leadership, you can kind of base it off of. There's a few quarterbacks that I don't see as those loud, outspoken leaders, especially ones that have been playing pretty great today. I mean, off the top of my head, I know when Rodgers gets fired up and he's like, you should have done this and on this, like that's one thing, but you never really see Aaron Rodgers like get super pumped about a play. He's like, all right, like I just made that throw, here we go.
Right.
Russell Wilson, you could probably equate a little bit better to him. A little fiery, but not, hugely. Like there are certain dynamics that work best. You don't need to be a fire leader to inspire your team and to drive them to be better. You just have to know how to lead. And so if Fields can do that at the NFL level, which, he did it at one of the biggest programs, it's not a bad thing. Whatever his style is, let him run with it. Don't force him to be in this, super outspoken leader, or, he's not, if he's not going to be that way, he's not going to be that way. Let him lead the way he leads. So again, the only thing that worries me is that Matt Nagy screws him up.
Yeah. And hey, you know what? I have faith that Matt Nagy gets it. The thing is that we're talking about Matt Nagy's never had his own quarterback. He's had to borrow one from, from the John Fox era, which, though, credit, John Fox never was planning it or was never told Trubisky was going to get drafted anyway. So you can argue that too. But this is the first QB that Nagy had a voice in the room saying, okay, this is a guy I trust as well. We're talking about the whole, and even post-draft, the whole memory quiz thing where it's like, hey, all these formations, and Justin Fields is like, yeah, I can recite this entire list that you gave me. And then apparently, the memory tests apparently are better than even Patrick Mahomes. Like, I guess the score was 130 and Mahomes hit like 110 back in draft evaluations. So like there's points there, and all that. One other concern I have, and I've told you this before, and I'm going to let you explain it away, and I've let Cody Emerson on Beyond the Press Box explain it away, because you're both Ohio State fans, is the Ohio State system and the QB curse. Why is this different?
Because there's actually a true quarterback playing quarterback.
Fair point.
If you look at Braxton Miller, if you look at Terrell Pryor, you look at Cardale Jones, you're not looking at guys who are true quarterbacks. They were more run first. Terrell Pryor ended up turning into a pretty good wide receiver when he switched over. So these are guys that are naturally better at a different position. Justin Fields is naturally better as a quarterback. And I think that the curse comes from they draft them as quarterbacks, but they're not quarterbacks type of thing. It's one of those things where they were put into that role because they did well enough to get him by. Cardale Jones and Braxton Miller, they split time because each one had different strengths and different weaknesses. Dwayne Haskins went to Washington, where I think Washington messed him up. I don't think we've really seen what we can from Dwayne Haskins just yet. I think he's just, being in Washington, and this is me speaking as a Cowboys fan, I wouldn't want to be there either. They, especially when you find out that the organization didn't want Alex Smith to come back and play for them, basically. Yeah. And then he came back and was the best quarterback on the roster. I think that has something to do with the organization level. I don't know if they thrust Haskins into a role before he was ready, It's the differences between there was questions about Haskins coming into the pros. The only real questions, if you look at it from that, is what does the Ohio State quarterback system work? And if you look at the past ones who have come into the pros, no, it doesn't. But if you look at who Justin Fields is as a player and that he's a true quarterback, I think that'll be the one to hopefully break the mold, especially for you guys in Chicago. Oh God, you guys need some type of reprieve for that position.
I know. I think that's part of the reason why I'm just iffy about it. And also my recent mistrust with the front office itself, retrusting Ryan Pace to make a decision. Matt Nagy, both these guys who I felt didn't deserve their job back this year, getting another shot. And, it's, as we're talking with the Bears fandom, they just like to flip their opinions like it's nothing. And this is just how it is. I've learned is, things can be terrible, but it takes one somewhat decent to decent decision. Now, this Justin Fields is a more than decent decision. It's one of the biggest bombshells from the draft was Fields getting picked up by Chicago. It just takes one, and that fan base can instantly go back to being happy-go-lucky, carefree for the most part. And that's not even me lying. I saw it all the last 2 years. It just takes a few things to change over the fan base so quick. And I'll die on that hill. I'm a Bears fan, and I'll die on that hill gladly. You can go to my house with pitchforks and torches, and I'll be like, "That's the truth. I swear." There, come on in. Let's talk about it. Look, the rest of the Bears draft though, Tevin Jenkins. Hey, the fact that he fell to Chicago pretty much, and they trade up again. They're being aggressive. Picked up a guy that they needed right now. Awesome. Although they did let go of Charles Leno, and cap saving. Okay. That's fine. I mean, Jermaine Ifedi is a decent tackle, and I mean, Jenkins is going to start anyway, I imagine. So I understand the move. Still, though, kind of scratching my head when it comes to depth, but okay. Other than that, a lot of fill-in pieces. I mean, the Bears picked up two guys that are looking more like special teamers to fill in for Cordell Patterson because since he's moved on to Atlanta. You have Khalil Herbert and Daz Newsome. So they're sounding like they're going to be special teams type of players, at least for returning, for maybe those specialty jet sweep type of plays that Cordell was used to. So look out for that. And then just a few to round out the roster, Thomas Graham from Oregon, Kareem Tonga from BYU, solid rotational guys, gives them depth. So,
yeah.
Really Jenkins and Fields are ones you really look at, and you're like, that's the draft for them. That's really most of what you need to know for Chicago. And maybe Borum, adding depth. People are actually surprised he went that high. That's the only other one I can point out.
Yeah, but at the same time, had the Bears tried to wait, like I don't think he'd be there. I think he would have been picked up prior to that. So
possible.
Sometimes you have to reach for picks. It's kind of like a lot of people will say, like, like for example, and I'll use this as a very loose example. This past year in fantasy football, I drafted James Robinson early, or like Yahoo told me I drafted him way too early, because according to the projections, he should have dropped to a certain spot. I looked at where I was at. I wasn't going to be able to get him, so I reached for him. And sometimes your reaches pay off. So I think it's one of those things where you just have to kind of go with it. Borum would be a great is going to be a great depth piece too. I think you can never have too many offensive linemen.
Yeah, and talks are that he's going to possibly be moved into interior. He only started 8 games as a tackle last year. And, obviously inexperience, something I know very well about with certain draft picks. It's a worrisome piece, but if they're going to adjust him to be more of an interior lineman and maybe give him a chance, and he's sound like he can be adaptable, I don't think he's a starting interior at the beginning of the year. Obviously 5th rounder, you're more in for depth, but the Bears need that line depth really badly, and something that Juan Castillo is going to fix up, I think, this year. Hopefully, after what we saw last year with the run first pass second offense, maybe we'll be able to open up that playbook a bit better and look a lot more smooth on the field. So yeah, Chicago, not too bad. I don't know. I'll give him a B plus. No, I'll give him a B. B plus, because I can't overlook Jenkins and Fields being that much of the draft saying, wow, just the assets you gave up, and then the rest of it was kind of okay to meh to the end, to the rest of the way. Can't completely give an A for Ryan Pace this time.
Yeah, I agree. I'm looking at B plus B. I love the Fields. I love Jenkins. I love getting more offensive linemen. It's the other guys. like you said, depth players. So I would say B plus B area.
Fair point. Well, that's our teams there. We can't leave the draft, though, that winners, losers. We already mentioned a few of them. You know, the Raiders already seeming to get a bit of our irk, Cleveland getting a bit of our praise. Tony, do you have anyone else in particular that just wowed you for how they seem to scheme the draft, or at least get what they wanted?
Yeah, one of my favorite picks. And it wasn't even it. So it's Arizona, but it wasn't Zaven Collins.
Okay.
Because the more tape I watched on Rondell Moore,
Oh, yes.
the more I loved him. And so for them to take him, first off, huge. Secondly, holy crap, that's a stacked offense.
Yeah.
You have now Rondell Moore learning behind DeAndre Hopkins. That's scary. So especially for that division. So I mean, I think it adds a little bit extra of a wrinkle to, you know, that NFC West. That would be my biggest steal is because Rondell Moore is going to be a stud, man. He was showing out in college, and I think going underneath his, you know, underneath DeAndre Hopkins' guidance, and I mean, even you could technically say AJ Green's. Rondell Moore shifty, and I love it. So put him in the slot, put him on the edge. I don't care. It's going to be great. I'm going to love it.
Gives another toy for Cliff Kingsbury to play with, and you know, someone else Kyler Murray can rely on. You know, I mean, a lot of people, we were thinking in our mock draft and others that, you know, we'd see a cornerback, you know, that line, you know, they obviously took Zaven Collins, of course, needed linebacker, but you know, Rondell Moore for a second rounder choice, it's a great weapon. He was going to go somewhere. He's a speedster, a lot of muscle on that guy for the size. I mean, kid can do it all. Just got to be healthy. That's the only problem his last 2 years. He hasn't stayed healthy, but you know, other success stories have been much worse coming in and have made an impact. So we only hope that that's for the better, and he's healthy right now. So that's even better too. I liked Atlanta, or I liked Arizona a lot. I'm going to tell you right now, though, Miami front loaded their draft, and they just continue to give me the impression that, you know, Tua better make that step this year, because they have given him everything on a silver platter to make this work. And again, they did the exact same thing this year. You give him Jalen Waddle, someone that he is for sure comfortable with, you know, was having a connection with him before he was drafted in 2020. You know, you look at defensively, they pick up in the same round Jalen Phillips, one of two University of Miami defensive ends that were going to go first to early second round, and that is someone that can speed rush or demolish inside if you wanted. A lot of weapons in his arsenal for getting to the quarterback for a team that really relied only on Emmanuel Ogbah, and Ogbah needed someone else. Phillips should be that guy, hopefully plug and play. You know, then you go on, you get Javen Holland from Oregon, you know, not like a Morig, but still one of the top or higher end safeties in this draft class. And then the one that really got me, the last two, Liam Eckenberg. So not only do you reassure that line with a tackle from Notre Dame from Brian Kelly, who has been making great assets on offensive line these last few years from that school. And then you get a sneaky pick for tight end with Hunter Long. You know, yeah, Kyle Pitts was going to be, of course, that big name, but Long was top 2 or 3 this entire time, and they got another weapon. So you get 2 more weapons for Tua to throw to. I was still hoping Najee Harris went to Miami, but look, I understand Jalen Phillips. I'm not going to complain. I was being wishful thinking back at the time when I picked that up. But you get 2 more weapons. You reassure a defense that was already, for the most part, besides pass rush, was really shut out for a lot of times last year. I mean, if Tua can't make something out of this and make a step, you know, you've banked a lot on this guy being your quarterback of the future, and hopefully taking an extra movement or an extra bit of what is expected from him.
Yeah, they destroyed this draft. They had 2 in the first, 2 in the second, 1 in the third, and they didn't have another pick until the 7th round. They taking Eckenberg out of Notre Dame, and then even Larnell Coleman out of Massachusetts. You're surrounding him. You're surrounding Tua with assets to where he should be pressured less, and he should have more options to throw it to. So they definitely did what they needed to do. It was kind of interesting for them to go Jevon Holland. Again, could have had Moerig. I mean, Moerig was seen as the number one safety on the boards, and so for him to have slipped to where he slipped, there's something going on there that we don't know about. But if they want to play coverage, which they're going to have to in that division, Jevon Holland's a good pickup. I don't have any quarrels with that draft that they did.
No, not at all. I like Arizona. Miami did great. I mean, I could talk about, like say New England, where they didn't have to really move much in particular, to get what they needed to. Belichick definitely seemed to, on paper, get something that was a lot better. Detroit got a lot of pieces they needed, I thought. That was another one. I mean, I'm not saying they're competitors, but, for a team that needed everything, Dan Campbell, I think, filled a lot of gaps, at least to make something that's more respectable this season than the final days of Matt Patricia. So
yeah, you mean they finally got offensive line out for one?
There you go. Yeah,
with Sewell. I mean, it's interesting to see how many times when you get a new regime taken over, and then you're like, oh, this is how it was supposed to look like to begin with.
Mm-hmm.
I think this is going to be one of those situations. They're definitely not contenders. I think they should have went up with a wide receiver in round 2 or round 3, because you have to replace Kenny Galladay, and that's a hard thing to do, because otherwise you don't really have that many receiving personnel for Jared Goff to throw to. So we'll really see what Jared Goff's made of this season. With if he can throw it to these no names, then he can prove the Rams wrong that he should have been their quarterback.
Well, one thing we've learned about Goff is he needs protection to not get flustered in the pocket. So much more so than Matthew Stafford ever had to be when he was in Detroit. So they made I think Sewell, at least, great decision, especially since a lot of people felt he should have gone to Cincinnati. One of the other big debates of this entire draft, because they got Jamar Chase, but now credit, they did pick up Jackson Carman from Clemson in round 2. So, big name school, obviously was protecting Trevor Lawrence for a time being, has experience in big games in the moments and with some of the best talent. So you can't argue that, but you could have also gotten the best one in the draft, at least to many, head and shoulders over some of the competition.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh man. There were a lot of weird things that went on in the first and second rounds that I looked at it and I was like, I'm pretty sure I got whiplash trying to figure out which direction these teams were going. In our group chat, I literally sent the gif of the guy's head just flopping around because I didn't know which way to look, because there were so many trades and so many people picking different things that I was like, wait, what about this guy? What about the guy? What about the guy, the best guy on the board? Where are we? What are we doing, guys? Like, so.
Oh my God.
It'll be an interesting season for sure.
The first 3 rounds were so hectic. I love this year's. I love trades. I love the madness of it too. It just, so much. What are they going for?
Yeah, who would have thought that the Cowboys would have been the first trade in the first round?
Right.
Not me.
Right. I mean, their hand got forced, but still.
Yeah. Wow. But if you still end up with the guy you wanted at 12, and you should get an extra pick out of it, I mean, hey, I guess. Again, that's why they get paid the big bucks, and we're just here talking about it. So
fair, we're trying our best.
Yeah, hey, we're trying to make those big bucks talking about it, but hey,
circumstance. Don't worry, we'll get there. I'll tell you. Well, this maybe you can look at this as a segue. Maybe you can look at this as me just laughing at my rivals. I look at Green Bay. I know that I kind of laughed at. I'm not saying Eric Stokes is a bad player. I am going to say, though, that Eric Stokes, to me, was not – I didn't think he was the right choice that they had picked up at that time. And
you mean they went in defense instead of giving Aaron Rodgers more weapons?
I mean, yeah, that's the joke. But still, even like Stokes, I didn't think he was even the right choice for that position at the time. And they still kind of reached it. Like, Georgia's a solid school, but, there were other options still available. I'm saying so.
They even have him listed as they saw him as a 3rd round product. Right. You went up and you took him at the 29th pick in the first overall. Yeah, he's fast, great, but what else does he bring to the table? I that's one thing, man. I don't understand how you want to talk about organizations not helping out their team. The Green Bay Packers for far too long have done that. They literally will just pick whatever they feel like picking, and they don't care what the fallout is or what it actually means to the team. Um, you know, they wait until the third round to get a wide receiver for Aaron Rodgers and Amari Rodgers from Clemson. Great. So Rodgers can throw to Rodgers. Great. Fantastic. Did you just plan that because of that? Because he was throwing to Richard Rodgers at one point too. So I don't understand. I mean, they got a good center in Josh Myers out of Ohio State, but in the second round. But man, how do you not? You know that his window's closing. Aaron Rodgers can't keep playing forever. He's not. He might not be a Tom Brady style player. And the way that he put his money into Green Bay, that kind of screwed him a little bit, because now if he wants out, he's kind of stuck in, payment wise.
Yeah.
So I don't know. To me, you could have gone anybody else. You could have gone any offensive player right here, and you chose not to. So it just shows that it's ineptitude at the front office level.
Well, I will look. Devontae Adams is a hell of a weapon. Aaron Jones is a hell of a weapon. They did lose Jamal Williams, but like Alan Lazard, I like Alan Lazard. And here's the thing: I've heard both sides of this argument. It's like, well, Rodgers has all the weapons. Like, okay, well, he has weapons too. I'm like, all right, you do have Devontae Adams, you have Aaron Jones, but if I'm looking elsewhere, Lazard is a great blocking receiver. He makes plays every now and then. If he makes another step this year, that's fantastic, but I'm not looking at him as a legitimate number 2 option just yet. And don't tell me that St. Brown and Valdez-Scantling are your number 2s, because I don't agree with that either. Both of them have been held liable for mistakes they've made that could have changed games. So, I'm just saying, Amari Rodgers now played for Clemson, was the number 1 target for Trevor Lawrence. So you can make an argument that it's a steal at the 3rd round, but I don't know. I mean, there were still options. I mean, Elijah Moore was still there for crying out loud. Yep. And you could have picked him up at that position. And he was supposed to be considered a 1st-round draft pick for the receiving class. And he slipped to the early 2nd round, for obvious reasons, to the New York Jets.
Yeah.
I mean, it fell right into the Jets' lap. They needed a receiver. But I'm just saying, like, for Rodgers baiting them into, trade me, retire, or whatever, right before the draft, you'd think maybe a little consideration there. And maybe if you're doing a cornerback, like, don't go over a 3rd-round prospect.
Oh my
29th position.
You got to do better, man. Like
I could be eating these words later on. Stokes might be like another Jair Alexander, where he's just holding people on an island. But until then, I can only go on face value right now for what evaluations everywhere were saying. And, I'm just saying value didn't seem to be there.
No, not at all. And then, I mean, we're talking about reaches, man. Even more confusing was the 28th pick for the New Orleans Saints was Peyton Turner.
Yeah, Peyton Turner.
You're gonna go Peyton Turner. Okay.
I was surprised at that too.
You have no secondary, really. One of the Jenkins guys left in free agency. I don't remember if it was Janoris or Michael Jenkins. I don't remember which one it was. There's too many guys with the last name Jenkins that were on the team.
Yes.
So I thought they would have taken like a safety or a corner here. They would have gone and done something here. Again, Morig was on the board. I sound like a broken record saying that, but like he was the best available. Peyton Turner looks like I had to look into him, man. I spent a lot of my time earlier today looking into like, who is Peyton Turner? I saw that he had a lot of injury history.
Mm-hmm.
So that's kind of risky. If he's versatile enough, like they're saying is, then that's great. It could pay off, but in your 1st-round pick, you want to go with the safe bet. You don't want to go with the risky pick. That's what you have the later rounds for.
Right.
So it's insane to me.
A little more experimental. Best I've found with Turner is that, and I'm going to reference CBS Sports here because it's several of my notes come from here, and as well as some of the rankings that they've given. But Turner, for CBS Sports' sake, They're claiming pre-draft buzz for maybe potential first rounder, but a lot of boards had him going late second, and he has raw talent. So, definitely someone that's like, if we mold him, we can do that. And I'm not, and, raw talent can be as good as a first round for sure. You can be a guy that just uses your athletic ability to dominate, and then you don't have any other skill set. And that can make you a first rounder if you please, based on some analysis. But this is sounding like a guy that needs a little bit of polish. Someone that definitely should have gone after the first round in some way, where it's somebody that I think could have been more of a steal, like maybe early to mid third round, he slips instead of being a guy that you're reaching for in that regard. So yeah, wasn't a fan. And again, Ian Book, like that's the one that stands out to me. It's like, I know that Hill probably has the inside track, but like now that just adds a QB controversy for a very awkward quarterback room post Drew Brees era.
Yeah.
So
yeah, and you reference middle third round for Peyton Turner, and that's where the state's going to throw me off, is because they had pretty much had the middle of the third round pick at the 76th pick, and they went cornerback there. So why wouldn't you go secondary first, and then if you can still get Peyton Turner in the third round, you still get Peyton Turner then? That was one of the things where I would have flipped that. I would have been like, all right, let's address our glaring need as opposed to our slight need. So, because I have a feeling Peyton Turner probably would have still been there at the 76th pick. I can play this what if game all I want too, but I don't know. I don't understand teams not going after what they need. And yeah, as a Cowboys fan and having seen that for so many years of not going after need, going after experimental or want, it's infuriating, because you think that people would go for what their glaring needs are first. That way, even if they're not the best at that position, they at least address the glaring need first.
Right.
So you put somebody halfway decent there, so that way you don't have to worry too much about, a bad secondary.
Real quick here, one that I want to ask, because it's Ohio. I got to ask Ohio State. CBS Sports here. Most surprising pick they said for the Saints was Pete Werner at second, in their second overall pick. Their claim, slightly slower. They thought he'd be a fourth rounder. I mean, you have thoughts on him a bit? I mean, I don't know. I didn't think that in particular, maybe that New Orleans needed linebacking help as bad. It's a weaker spot for them, but safety could have still been addressed here too.
I think they reached on him too. I think he's a big guy. He's a big, quick guy, but he's mainly more of a run stopper. So if you're only going to use him in that capacity, you got your guy. If you're going to use him as an all-around linebacker, probably going to need some more polish on this guy as well. So I think they could have, they could have done a lot better here. I think Werner, I think they reached a little bit on him too as well.
Well,
that's all I have to say.
Sean Payton has done amazing things these last few years, and this will be, if they can get to a winning record in the South this year, more kudos to them, because the NFC South has become insanely competitive now. Hell, even Carolina, I can argue, great draft, but a lot of questions at their main position that, same as Tua I would say with Miami, a lot of weapons there. Now, can they put it all together? That's what we'll find out.
Yeah, time will tell this season, that's for sure. It'll be very, very interesting to see.
Yeah. Now, looking at the NFC North here. So before the draft, Chicago to me still was like not considered a competitor here. They wouldn't be the number one team in this division. Now, no one knows what the hell is going to happen with the North, because before the draft on May 2nd, we had a little bit of a kind of a Schefter type of bomb. I can't go like Woj bomb. Woj bomb Woj bomb comes off so much better, but we had like a Schefter, I guess a nuke, if you will. It kind of felt like that, because it's still been kind of resonating post draft and has been getting more and more steam and behind the scenes with stories. Because Aaron Rodgers has told people that he wants out of Green Bay, and that he is going to start giving only a few options for Green Bay, and that's becoming less and less likely that he'll stay in Green Bay. And of course, the draft that Green Bay had probably didn't help that whatsoever. Again, you reach for a cornerback. Amari Rodgers is a solid receiver, but not someone that you were expecting maybe to get there. So, or that you could have gotten earlier that were still on the board. So, just saying, a lot of questions right now. Landscape of the NFL could be changing really quick. Come specifically post June 1st, because that's kind of the key date right now.
Mhm.
Tony, I mean, what are you looking here? I mean, we know that there are 3 teams that he is listed off in some capacity by name that he would like to go to. San Francisco basically, I would say, is out of the race at this point, unless they have some other master plan under John Lynch has some master plan under his sleeve, which I don't think he does. Which leaves the Raiders and the Denver Broncos. So somewhere in the AFC West. I mean, what even is made of this? You know, there's a lot of questions still, and a lot of kind of dirt being dug up still.
Yeah, I thought of it as you were talking about it after the Schefter tsunami.
That's a good one too. I like that.
I thought about that. I was like, well, you said making waves, and I was like, tsunami. That sounds good.
It rolls off the tongue a lot better. We should start using that.
The Schefter tsunami.
Schefter tsunami.
Yeah, you know, I get where Aaron's coming from with this, because you have watched your team not rally around you, basically, not give you those pieces that you need, you know, letting go of some pieces that you wanted there. I mean, he had to have watched the Buccaneers game. You know, I saw a report earlier, you know, Aaron had to have been watching the Buccaneers game, seeing how they, you know, molded their style around Tom Brady, how they gave him all the weapons. And so I think that's where it's the biggest issue, is that he's your franchise player, and you're not, you know, you don't have to involve your franchise player in decisions, but it's a good idea if you do, because especially when it's your quarterback, because you need to make sure he's happy and
Right.
he's protected and he's got the weapons that he needs to be successful, because then he can be like, hey, here's where we're lacking, here's what we need. He goes, because then if they're good on the offensive side, then he can be like, all right, go get defense, go do what you need to do on your side. For the longest time, you have Green Bay, who's got a pretty good defense now, and they have not really the greatest offense. Yeah, Aaron Rodgers is the reigning MVP, and he did a lot with a little. But you know, he's only got Devontae Adams and Aaron Jones. Jamal Williams is gone. Valdez-Scantling, like you said, is not a number 2. Lazard is more of a blocking one who could break out. St. Brown, don't even get started on how he's not he shouldn't even be starting. And that he should only be starting if there's like 4 or 5 injuries ahead of him. I get where he's coming from. If you don't take into account what he needs and what you need to be successful, you're not doing yourself or the quarterback a service. I mean, at the same time, you can look at it from the organization perspective. You know, they don't need to include him. You know, they're the ones. He's an employee. They're the decision makers, and that's fair. But at the same time, you want to be successful, you make sure your franchise player, your star player, is happy, and you're doing everything you can to make sure that they can be successful on the field. So,
yeah, look, and the pedigree for Aaron Rodgers, I think, exemplifies enough to argue that he has a little bit of say. I mean, you're a multi-time MVP quarterback. You've won a ring for the franchise that was its first in at that time about 15 years at that point. Yeah. So, you know, I mean, it's kind of argue that you could say that, you know, maybe, just maybe, he could have a little bit of a voice in that room, you know, and considering after last year's flub with Jordan Love. Now, credit, Love has never touched the field yet, and it was expected he was going to be a developmental thing. But of course, when they drafted Love, the expectation was, all right, so is Rodgers going to get a fire under him, or is he going to be slow, or is he going to have a declining season? You know, I mean, 2019 season, he wasn't, say, MVP level, but he was still decent and was he got them to 13 games and he still looked pretty damn good. Last year, he looked like he was a man on a mission, basically a man scorned by a franchise that made a decision for him. And so now you're stuck with a guy that's saying, okay, well, I know what you did last year. I know there's a guy that is currently training, who, by the way, almost never dressed up for Green Bay on any given Sunday because he was a developmental piece to be hidden away from the media. And now you're expecting that's your Messiah in Green Bay to be the next Rodgers, to be the next guy that was like Rodgers taking over for Favre. That's what this whole thing looks like, except Rodgers now wasn't talking about retirement. Rodgers is more just upset because it looks like a franchise that was ready to move on with a guy that obviously wasn't over the hill. So now what do you do? Because Rodgers has a 3-year contract left. It's going to have a lot of money tied to him right now. he's owed $38 million if you trade him now. So that's a lot of, I mean, that is a chunk, that is a massive sacrifice for franchise. Now, if you wait till June 1st, it's only 21 million. It's less of a blow, but still you lose an MVP talent for a quarterback to start that we're not 100% sure what the hell is going to happen, because we barely seen Jordan Love play ever. I don't think we've ever seen him actually touch the field. Maybe not even a preseason game. I mean, this guy,
we didn't have a preseason last year.
Exactly. This guy has been a ghost, and we are hearing that he is the next starting quarterback. Potentially they are comfortable with him going to play if they have to do it. And I mean, for a guy that's been with a franchise like Chicago, I don't know how the hell Green Bay fans feel right now, because I don't know how much you can even trust the organization with that. That's hard for me to fathom.
Yeah.
You're going to put a ball in the hands of a guy that has seen almost nothing and has almost never worn his jersey on the sidelines.
Also got the tag on it. Like it's kind of ridiculous, because it's just one of those things Jordan Love should never have been picked in the first round of last year's draft. There was no reason for it. Yeah, it would light a fire under him, and there's been reports that Rodgers has been more open to Jordan Love since he got on the roster than Favre was when they drafted Rodgers, which is great. So that shows that he hated the pick. He didn't hate the kid himself. He just hated the fact that the kid got picked to his team when he needed more help. And it seems like you can only say things so much before it finally falls on deaf ears. And it appears like, I'm going to use Aaron Rodgers' analogy, reference to him, of the Jerry Krause of the Packers.
Right.
If you're not going to listen, then why bother, man? Like, why do I bother waste my breath? Like, if you're not going to bring me in to have me have a say in how to make this team successful, why am I still here? Why am I still playing for you?
Man, I can only imagine what Brian Gutekunst. I am trying to pronounce. I've practiced so hard on this. That is as close as I'm going to get. I looked at phonetic spellings of the man's last name, and it's good. It's Gutekunst is what it is. Brian Gutekunst has quite a decision on his hands as a general manager, and especially for one that is basically getting blamed right now for a lot of the issues at hand between your MVP quarterback. And look, I agree. Like Rob, ESPN's reported that it's a 9% chance a 5% chance, if not less, that you'll see Aaron Rodgers return in a gold and green uniform. For me, yes. For other teams and for Green Bay, oh God, where is he going? And again, there's two options. I'm just going to lay it on the line. I'm telling you right now, John Elway will be on the phone come June 2nd. It's going, if he hasn't done, I mean, I know John Elway doesn't run all the football operations anymore, or he's not as involved, but with a quarterback like this, and that he has experience of luring another said quarterback from a few years ago, different scenario, because that was free agency, but I understand. I mean, it's a Hall of Famer talking to a potential Hall of Famer. If Elway, I would be surprised if Elway wasn't in a call with Green Bay going, look, let's smooth this out, and maybe taking a little bit more of that operation back for just this instance. Because Denver's got to be on the phone. They did nothing in the draft for that position. No. And I wouldn't feel confident completely with that quarterback room either.
Yeah, I don't remember who's in that quarterback room anymore. So it's Drew Lock.
Drew Lock. You got Teddy Bridgewater, who's also sitting
that's right. Teddy got it.
Mm-hmm. They actually let go of Jeff Driscoll recently, so he is not there anymore.
Didn't they just get Driscoll from Cincinnati?
Yes, they had him for that last season, for part of last season. So you had Brett Ripon, who won a game. So
Yeah. If he goes anywhere, it's going to be Denver. John Gruden and Mike Mayock aren't going to be smart enough to try to go after, Aaron Rodgers, and especially when they've got Derek Carr on the roster too. They seem to be all in on Derek Carr for right now. So he's probably, if he gets traded, he's probably going to Denver.
I just don't see how it's not them. The option is, of course, you can retire. I mean, hey, Rodgers is being talked about like he really wants to play or be part of Jeopardy, and he's been on several instances, at least a lot on the Pat McAfee show, which he's been on quite frequently this offseason, by the way, that he wants to be the Jeopardy host if he has a chance, which is kind of nuts to think about, that he could retire in August and, basically if he
have a job lined up ready to go,
plays his cards right, he'll be in Hollywood and back nearby his hometown.
Yeah, that's true.
Kind of weird to think he could have the ideal retirement early if he wanted.
Dang. It would be sad to see, and I know this probably is, you might disagree. It would be sad to see Aaron Rodgers go out having to retire because an organization didn't fully, respect him enough to take his opinion into account. Him being probably a potential, more than likely being a Hall of Fame quarterback. He's a 3-time MVP. Man, that'd be sad to see him go. Like you saw Peyton go out on the win. You've seen these players go out on top. It would just be sad to see Aaron Rodgers retire and then just decide to do. I mean, yeah, he's okay on Jeopardy. I've only watched like one or two. But it's just one of those situations. I wouldn't want to see it. I'd rather see him go out on top. But if he's going out on his own terms, I guess I can't fault him for that either, though.
Well, yeah, I want every player to choose their own out. That's something I stressed when Andrew Luck retires. Like, hey, he's going out on his own choice.
Mm-hmm.
He was not forced out. The organization let him do that. He obviously.
Yeah, I had no qualms with that, especially when he was worrying about his health issues. Man, I was the first person. People, Indianapolis Colts fans were pissed, man. I was like, no. He went out on his own terms.
You talk to the people in Indianapolis anymore, it's almost a 50-50 split on how they felt about that retirement. It was a little more lenient at the time, but as time has gone on, I would say it's coming close to I would say you talk to half Colts fans, in my opinion, half of them dislike that he ever moved on, that they were owed something. The other half still understand, hey, he's a guy that has a family, a life, and his own choices.
He doesn't owe you a single thing.
He
gave you phenomenal years. The organization didn't protect him. This is what you get. If you want to blame anybody, blame those in power.
Exactly. That's all you can say. And this is kind of what's going on with Rodgers is like, all right, well, you had chances to, keep building on what you have. And, he's gotten frustrated enough. You kept poking the bear. And, here's where we're at.
The bear's going to bite back, man.
Right. I mean, yeah, no joke. I hope this year is the year Chicago bites back, for crying out loud, and stop being a semi-doormat or middle ground. But look, for Rodgers' sake, I don't think retirement's a serious option, but like a Carson Palmer scenario to me plays out in my mind right now. And I'm not even talking the fact that he's the same agent as Carson Palmer did, and they orchestrated that whole thing. But just the fact that, okay, he probably still wants to play. I know Jeopardy could be calling or something, but I imagine he still wants to play. So
I feel like that would still be there, even if he plays someplace else. I think they'd still be like, "Oh yeah, Aaron, you wanna come back? Jeopardy, come on back."
I mean, yeah, he could figure it out in his schedule. I mean, if he goes out to Denver, he probably could easily have private times where he could just fly out and tape, and then go back to what he needs to do. I mean, he would have that status in Denver anyway. And Denver to me is set up the exact same way they were in 2013 when the Colts let go of Manning and Manning was ready to go to Denver. Denver had just come off of a topsy-turvy, insane Tim Tebow season where a lot of pieces were in place, but they needed someone to say, okay, we need to right this ship and get the maximum potential out of this roster.
With a pretty good defense.
Yes, exactly. And that's what they're in right now. Pretty good defense. There's solid weapons across the board. I would say pretty spectacular for Jerry Jeudy and a healthy Cortland Sutton in there. There's potential here. Vic Fangio has quite the roster. It's just that the QB cannot stay healthy or is not being consistent enough whatsoever. So, I'm telling you, Elway's going to be on the phone. Watch it. June 2nd, man. He's going to be on that cell. He's going to be on the phone in his office, and they'll be talking about this. And it'll be some ridiculous treasure trove of picks. You can only max out 3 first-rounders, but it'll be 3 first-rounders and some, second possibly. I don't know if you swap quarterbacks or something. I mean, I I don't know if they'd want Drew Lock or Teddy Bridgewater, but
they could take Teddy. I don't know.
I mean, someone will have to
take
go.
Teddy over Drew Lock.
Right. I mean, Teddy would make a lot of sense. They only gave up a 6th rounder. So give him and if they need someone for Jordan Love, there's a veteran that was pretty all right, and I'd say has learned a lot and has been around the block and has been a great teammate, it sounds like, for most teams. So
yeah,
could be a good choice. Choice.
Absolutely.
But Rodgers going somewhere is just, it's kind of mind-boggling.
Just a matter of time of when.
I might be able to say that I can have some sanity every regular season, knowing that Green Bay's coming to town. As long as Jordan Love hasn't been the secret weapon all along. So,
yeah. What's that like? What's it like to have sanity when teams come to town? Because I couldn't tell you what that's like.
I don't know. I haven't had that since 2018 when I bought in fully.
The double doink year.
Well, I mean, that was before the double doink. The double doink shattered me, man. I'm telling you that moment is engraved in my mind. We're sitting in the Chicago Bears bar named Fat Dan's. Great spot, by the way, if you're ever in town, for folks that are listening. And we're sitting there. We just watched, Trubisky help lead the team down there with the final remaining seconds, where it's ideal field goal position for Cody Parkey. It's all set up, ready to go, and we're all locked in arms around the bar.
How long was that field goal?
That field goal. I mean, that was I cannot think. I don't remember the distance off the top of my head.
Okay. I just didn't know if you did or not.
Everything else from the video is engraved in my mind. Like I could tell you that I didn't remember. I mean, I can tell you that it looked clean on the video, even though, of course, slow motion showed that was a partial block. I can tell you that the camera missed the first doink, so I didn't know what the hell happened until I saw it hit the ground. I can remember, of course, Matt Nagy's stunned face and everyone basically clearing out of the bar in 3 seconds, because it was just that much of a drain, to where one moment I was looking at one of my dad's friends from work. The next moment I turn and he's already 2 blocks down the street going to his car because he didn't want to deal with any of the aftermath of what he just witnessed. So very engraved in my head. The sanity didn't completely get lost there. That happened after week 1 of 2019, but it was definitely a Kickstarter. So maybe Rodgers helps with that leaving. I don't think he's coming back. He won't be back.
I don't think he is either. I mean, it'll probably cost him some pretty penny in the fines, but no, I don't think he cares. I think he's just probably. Yeah, I think they just want him out. I think he just wants out because there's some money. Let's see, where is it? Unexcused failure to report, unexcused departure from mandatory offseason minicamp. Carries a maximum fine of $15,000 Freshman's Day, doubles on the second, and then they add another about $15K on for the third day. If they miss all 3, they're fined a total of almost $100,000. For Aaron Rodgers, that's chump change.
Well, and think in the uncertainty too, if you're wanting to get Jordan Love quickly to speed, and if you think he's the guy, you can't waste too much time focusing on drama with your, star quarterback that's causing much of the media controversy right now. And you need to move on from that as soon as possible. So, retirement or trade, that's what's going to have to happen. And you hope it happens for them sooner rather than later. Tony, that's all we really got, man. That's that hell of a show. I'm telling you, Michael, I think we'll give him a little bit of a shot next time we talk, to at least put in his own words,
Yeah. I don't think either one of us could fully put into words what Michael's thoughts would be on this draft. We've said it multiple times on here. Michael is he's our draft guru. Yes. He chomps at the bit every time that his season's over with Atlanta. He's chomping at the bit, already ready for the draft, already scouting, already doing mocks. So yeah, it's tough not having him on tonight, but very happy for him and Emma. It was a phenomenal wedding. Very happy for them to finally spend their life together. Mike's probably going to hate me for this, but he bawled with her walking down the aisle, and it was the most heartwarming thing, because you knew that's what Mike was going to do. He's such a good-hearted, pure person, and I definitely wish them both the best. Definitely love the fact that they're both still in my life. Yeah, I'm getting all teary eyed thinking about it now, man. It's a phenomenal situation to be and I was honored to be a part of it.
I was happy for him. It was a beautiful wedding from the photos I saw. I could tell you I didn't. I would have never been able to tell that he was bawling walking down the aisle from any of the photos I noticed. So, photographer did either missed it completely or he did a great job recovering right in time.
Oh no, they probably got it as he was walking down the aisle. They probably haven't released those ones just yet.
There we go.
But the one that people have sent him of him and Emma doing the whole hand up thing, it's that was definitely the epitome of it. He about halfway through the ceremony, his eyes kind of dried up. Him and Emma were bantering back and forth up there. You could tell, and it was just so pure and so great. So, phenomenal thing to have. And so when he gets back, yeah, he definitely needs to have his time to talk about Atlanta, talk about what he thinks, and and then we can move on from there, because he's the glue that holds us together come draft time, in all honesty.
Damn right, man. I know that he knows more than you or I would have to say. I'm happy I can hold my own right now, but Michael definitely, if for anyone that scouts the most, it's him out of us three. So Michael, you'll obviously be seeing this at a later time. Glad you're enjoying the soft beaches of Cancun, newly wedded with you and Emma. So, hats off to you, man. Hope you're enjoying yourself as of this time of this recording. So, that being said, I mean, that's going to about do it for me and Tony here. We're wrapping it up. Guys, thanks for listening in. We'll have the entire trio back for the next show. When that is most likely going to be later on, either we get some news or start an OTA training camp type of discussion. If you want to check us out, social media wise, Gridiron Gallery, you can find us at Grid Gallery Pod. That is for Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Look up that one username. You can find it on all three platforms. As I mentioned at the beginning, be sure to hit a subscribe, like, comment on this video version of it. That's right. This is a video too. So if you're listening to it on the podcast, you can check out the YouTube version, get more of our laughter, our reactions, Tony holding back tears as he was just doing right there, because I was watching him do that. So, you can get all those wonderful details in a edited video that we post weekly every Sunday. So be sure to check that out too. And check out Tony and Michael. Michael, you can find on Instagram. We know he's not on Twitter. We'll get that.
Can't banter him for that this week. Gosh.
I know. I feel bad doing it, but he's gonna get on at some point. We'll get there. And then I leave it to Tony to give the usernames, because I always screw them up anyway. So where can we find you, buddy?
Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. Instagram is StenulBridge58. Facebook and Twitter. Facebook, you can just look up Tony Stenulson. That's STENULSON. And then Twitter is Tony-Stenulson. You can definitely interact with me on my tweets. I most recently got into a conversation with a Kentucky fan who didn't take kindly to me asking Matthew Berry if he liked a certain pick over somebody else. And the guy was like, I forgot that Josh Allen was, a defensive end. So he's a defensive end / linebacker. I called him a defensive tackle, but and I don't know football. All of that's in quotation marks. So if you want to catch up on those, see if I get in any interactions with some people, or if you just want to see me go on a tweet storm during big events, more than welcome to. I don't promise you quality. I promise you a lot of quantity on those.
Hey, the tweet storms are entertaining when you get to it, especially, national championship games for college football. Just be watching out. Some of those this year or something else. Mostly the college playoff with Clemson and Ohio State. Just watching how that was everything it needed to be for Tony and my other buddy Cody Emerson. It was something.
That was a trip.
It was something else. Guys, thanks for watching and listening in. As always, we appreciate it. Until our next edition of the Zach, Tony, and Grimbo Show, I'm Zach Keilman signing off for Tony Stenulson. And once again, wishing Michael Grimberg as well as Emma Grimberg now the best of a honeymoon that they are currently enjoying out in Cancun. Until next time, guys, stay tuned. The Gridiron Gallery Podcast. New episodes every Friday on your favorite podcast platforms, YouTube, and premiering first, as always, at 11 a.m. Eastern, 8 a.m. Pacific, only on UnhingedSN.com.